everybody, it's Kim from justwords.ca. Happy New Year! I'm finally back with another tutorial, and I'm finally getting to that floral one. And I don't do a lot of florals, so we're going to see how this turns out. We're going to try our best, and I'm going to start on the leaves first. And the colors I've chosen today, Pro Markers again as usual. We have pine. Let me just move this here. We have forest green, and I have bright green. So let's get right down to it. I'm going to lay down my dark color first, like I always do. We're going to work on this one here, and I'm just going to go to the underside of the vein of the leaf. Had some not crazy things, but not the best news over the holidays, and I'll be spending a little bit of time away from crafting. I've got some things I have to help my daughter with. She got a little bit of sad news, so she's got some surgery coming up, and I'm going to be going for a little bit of a visit while she has her surgery and treatments. I get to play with the little one, the little grandbaby. Excited about that, and hoping she has a quick recovery. Okay, so now we have forest green. I'm just taking the nib off, and I'm just gonna follow the color I already laid down. Now, I was trying to decide what color to do these flowers, and I have to say I was a little worried about what to do, so I just went online and I looked at tropical flowers, seen the colors that I like, and it kind of gave me a little bit of direction of how I want to color this up. Now, I got this as a freebie when I first started out this image, when I first started doing digital stamps, and there was a bunch of freebies, and unfortunately I don't have where I got it. I don't have the link of where I have it, so if anyone has this and was able to label it properly, as I wasn't very savvy in that when I first started shopping around for digitals. So I apologize. And there we are. Super simple, just the 3 colors again. And then I'm going to move on. There's a little bit hiding in behind here. It was a large leaf, so we're going to continue with this one here. And again, closest to the flower is going to be the darkest. And this kind of is going underneath. So I'm just laying down the shading, darkest color. And I love my nibs, of course. They are great for those little tiny areas. Going into the forest green. And then we're going to do the bright green. I'm liking these 3 colors together. I think they're turning out good. I hope I can manage with the flowers okay. Okay, and then there's a little bit tucked under here. Same leaf. It's going to be quite dark in there, so I'm just going to use the 2. I'm going to use the pine and the forest green, because it's going to be very shaded behind here, behind everything. There we are. Now I think I want just a little bit more here. Just add a little more depthness to it. I'm going to get my forest green again, because we have to blend it now that I added a little more color. I just think I needed a little more color here. Hopefully I didn't do too much. And then we've got our bright green. look like it had enough depth there. Now that I've done that, I've got to do the bottom a little bit. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Adding a little more color. Just want to have a lot of depth to these leaves. Forest green. Now I've already laid a bit of color down, so I'm trying not to go too heavy, because then we'll end up with smudging, because my paper's a Nina Solar White cardstock, Nina White, and the ink soaks up pretty good. Well, we'll see how that looks when it dries. I'm kind of liking it. So now we're going to move on to this one in the back. So we're going to take the pine. Make sure I'm in your frame. There we are, and then we're going to get our forest green. Try and move quickly so my ink doesn't all dry. I did a little bit larger area than I normally do. That's blended nicely. You don't want to stark lines. And then we're going to go into the bright green. Now this one's way in the back, so it's not going to be as bright as the one in the front. Just going over the existing color slightly, just to not have a stark line. We want a really nice blending line there. I'm just working the color a little. There we are. It's looking very bright. I like it. So we've got the one left on this side. So I'm going to turn it slightly so I can get my lines nicely. Go around the flower. Underneath all these vein marks. It's very quite simple, as the artist has left these nice lines to work with. It's a little bigger. I'm going to do this side first. The forest green is next. That was pine. Got our bright green. Hope Santa spoiled you all. We had a good time. My little one's so cute, my little grandbaby. She comes down and I said, Avery, look at all those presents. And she's like, holy gosh! I just burst up laughing. I thought it was the most adorable thing. Holy gosh, where did she get such a thing? So funny. And then I said, look at all those presents. Too many, she says, too many. But she opened them all up. We had a great time visiting. Back to the forest green. On that forest green. And now the bright green. I'm not sure if that's leaf behind there or the flower. I think it's a flower. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so what do you think of the leaves? Not too bad for an amateur. Now, for the flowers, I've decided to go with plum, mulberry, and fuchsia pink. We're going to see how this turns out. Now I'm going to do one petal at a time. And again, this is new to me, so please bear with me. I'm just going to add a little bit of the darkest color, which is plum, in the middle here. I'm just going to put a little bit in these creases. Don't want to go too much. And then we're going to grab our mulberry. I don't have a tip on this one, so I have to be a little more careful. And then we're going to add this fuchsia pink. I can see right now, not exactly. How I want it, so I'm going to add a little bit of my blender pen. Here it is here, our blender pen. I use this quite a lot, and I'm just going to soften some of these little, leave a little bit of white in here. Just a little bit of highlighting. Oh, I like that. So what I want to really add a little more depthness to the inside here, so I'm going to get that plum again, and we're going to really darken it some. And just these little edges again. Just really add some depth. And I think I need I have to put a tip on this mulberry. If I got one that's going to fit, it should work. There we are. There. Yeah, I just want a little more starker lines here. And then we have that fuchsia pink that I'm just going to, slightly as I can, add that little bit of color. Try not to blend too much of the lines away. I really like the lines. And then we're just going to soften that little bit up again with my blender. What do you think? Alright, so we're going to move on to this one. Back to the plum. I want some here. Let me get that mulberry. And we want that fuchsia pink. And then we want that blender pen to soften these little lines up here, some highlights. A little bit outside the line there, so we're just trying to fix it up. And then we're going to go over it again with the plum. Really want that inner circle to be nice and deep colored. Soften those lines again. Yeah, I'm really liking the way that's turning out, so we'll work on to this one now. Back to the plum. Mulberry. And then we've got that fuchsia pink. Really nice combination. I haven't tried this combination before, and I really like it. And then we've got that blender pen. And again, we wanted to add that depth in there, so we're going to go over it again, just like I do for the hair. Really dark in the center. And then the fuchsia, soften it up. And then our blender pen, just to highlight those little corners. I was really super lucky to get an iPad for Christmas. Didn't expect that. Just gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with it now. Not much for playing games. I don't really have time for games. I'm always crafting. Just gotta figure out how I can make my blogging life easier. And I'm just going to go around here because that is right underneath that other leaf. So we're adding a bit of the dark to that. Back to the mulberry. Let's get that fuchsia pink, soften it up. And now the blender pen. Now let's add our depthness back in there again. Back to the plum. Mulberry. Oh, I just want to add a little more to these edges here. Let's soften it up with that fuchsia pink. And then again with the blender. Put a little too much blender. I might have to go over that again. Adding a little bit of color. There we are. So let's do this last petal. This is in behind. Oops, a little out of your frame. And then we have mulberry. And the fuchsia pink. A little bit of blender pen. Just try and lightly over it here. Now we're going to do our depth again. Mulberry. Fuchsia, very lightly, and then the blender pen, very, very gently. Alright, let's see. Now, I think I need the green. I'm just going to use the dark pine, assuming that these leaves are in behind here. I'm not liking the white spot spaces in there. I'm just going to add a little bit of forest to this one. There. What do you think? I think it looks pretty sharp. So now I've seen these flowers online, and the stalk of this here is the same color as the flower itself. So I'm just going to start with the dark. I'm just going to try and very lightly add the plum and the mulberry. Just do the two colors. It's a very small little stem. And then there's a little bit of color in here, not much, and then I'm just going to use yellow for a little bit of the little seeds here. There we are. Now let's continue on this one. Now this one, if you see, you have the back side, so the bottom is going to be much darker here. I'm just going to move it around a little, and we're going to make that darker. And then we have fuchsia pink. I'm not going to put any blender on this particular part, as it's hidden back here, but I am going to add some more depth here. My plum. And the fuchsia here. I'm sorry, that was mulberry. This is fuchsia. There we are. And then we're going to continue on the inside like we did. So it's going to be dark here. Just in these creases, I'm going to add a little bit of the plum. Now we've got mulberry. Oh, my tip almost come off. And then we want the fuchsia. I'm going to add a little bit of that blender pen just on these little highlights that I want. And then I want to add a little more depth here. Get that mulberry. I really like this combination. I think I better write this down for future use. I think it really looks sharp. And there we are. Now let's continue. This one here. My blender. Let's add some more depth in there. I've had this image printed, I'm sure, for 2 months trying to get it done. Finally am here. Okay, so back to the plum. Mulberry. Blender just at the top here. And then we've got this one here at the back are just little I'm just going to use the 2 colors, plum and the mulberry. And there we are, and let's work on this bottom one. Just want to thank the follower who has been patient enough with me to finally get this floral done. She's asked me quite some time ago, and I feel bad for keeping you waiting. But that darn life just keeps intruding, doesn't it? Holidays were just so crazy busy for all of us, I'm sure. these little pieces again that's under here that I'm sure are leaves are right behind there. So I'm just going to fill them in with the darkest color. That's the pine. And now we're going to do this stalk here. I'm just going to, this one's really small, so I'm just using the one color. I'm going to add a little bit of dots with the mulberry, and now I'm going to get that yellow. Just fill some dots with the yellow. I lost a little bit of the vibrancy of the mulberry, so I'm just going to go in again. Try and add that. Same with over here. Got a little dark. Light, I mean. There, so now we've got the one at the back. Well, I'm going to do these little ones here. They're going to be quite simple, I hope. We're just going to take our plum, just totally follow these lines. The mulberry. And then fuchsia. And I'm going to add a little bit of highlight. My blender pen. Now I'm unsure about this little part here, if it would be, down here I colored it the color of the flower, so I think I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to try and just do it a little bit lighter. This could be totally wrong, but I'm not really familiar with this type of flower, so this is what you get. So I just did the two colors there. I think that looks alright. So we'll continue on the other one. And this is in behind, so I'm going to have a little bit of darker, my plum color. And this little piece is behind as well. And I'm going to get into that mulberry. Fuchsia. And you see how that just softened the lines up really good? You might like that. I just want a little more definition in my lines, so I'm gonna, whoops, I think I have to add it over here too. Just to make it look like there's, now if I had my little nib on this one, it would do the same thing. Alright, so my two colors again, we're going to go mulberry under here, just under the underside, and then I'm going to use my fuchsia pink. Very simple. And we just have the one left. I hope you're enjoying this. I think they're turning out really lovely. Okay, I'm going to really turn this right around so I can get into this little spot down here. Taking my plum. It's a little harder because closed ones, I'm going to try and lighten it up a little bit. Fuchsia pink. And I see I went a little bit out of the lines here. There's always a way to fix it, and again, the way I like my blender pen is to go a little ways away from it and just kind of push it in towards so you don't mush the color really bad. See, it's moving. Just be patient with it. And there we are. I think that's most of it. fix anything, so I always say. Okay, and then the mulberry again. And then the fuchsia pink. Okay, now we're going to this one. Now it's underneath these leaves, so it's going to be darker. Right underneath. Then we want the mulberry. Get that blender pen, put a little bit of highlights up here, let's add a little more depth. I've somewhat captured the softness of these flowers, these colors. Now I put, as you see, I put a little bit of plum in here, which isn't the best thing, so because I was hoping to leave that open. Let me turn it around and see what it looks like here. Really wanted to leave that white, so I think I'm going to try and fix it with my blender pen, and if it doesn't work too good, then what I'm going to do is after the fact, I'm just going to take my white gel pen and just fill in that little gap white, because there really isn't anything behind there. Little boo-boo on my part. Alright. So just this little spot left. I'm just going to use the two colors. Oh no, let's put the tips here. We are, and then we're going to do this stem. Just going to use the mulberry again. Turn it around. Boy, I'm twisting this around a lot on you today. Let's add some yellow. Yep, it's yellow it is. I'm just going to go over that mulberry again. And now let me get me my white gel pen. There's always a fix in the crafting world. Okay. Perfect. Well, and there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the little tutorial on the floral. Now that I'm looking at it, I might have wanted to put these a different color, but again, in crafting world, it is what it is.